Well, a data leak has confirmed there are Chinese Communist Party members working in Australia's consulate based in Shanghai. Now, a special investigation by Sky News host Shari Markson has revealed some of the members have been employed in the consulates for up to 16 years. Joining me now is leader of the One Nation Party, Pauline Hanson. Great to see you tonight, Pauline. This is outrageous. How could this happen in Australia? 16 years, Pauline. These people have been embedded in Australia's consulate in Shanghai.
That's right, and they went through an agency that actually, they had to go through the agency, and the agency has been employing these people into the consulates. But it's just not Australia, Peter. You name a country and basically they have been employing these people who are members of the CCP, so the Republic of China. So these people, they give loyalty, they swear allegiance to the Chinese Republic, and here they're working in the consulates, not only Australia's, but you've got the UK, you've got Britain, you've got Italy, you've got all these other, Switzerland, all these other consulates, and they've got the Chinese that have, infiltrated these positions.
Pauline, I saw a really good article today in the Oz about how if we were to fight fire with fire and to impose tariffs on the Chinese for our iron ore and divest away from the Chinese when it comes to iron ore, things might be a little bit different. But of course, the government has today come out and said that won't actually happen. What's the answer here, Pauline, to Australia weaning itself off the teat of the Chinese?
Peter, we have the iron ore in such great supplies, and we've also got the coke and coal to make steel. We used to be one of the largest steel makers in the world in years gone by. We've allowed that to deplete to next to nothing. The fact is that we should actually be kick-starting industries, manufacturing, steel making ourselves. I know the rest of the world are fed up with China, and I believe that they will buy the steel if we make it. We've got quality, we have quality workmanship here. It would be quality steel. We have the resources to do it. I can't understand why the government is not getting behind these businesses, putting money behind them to start steel making. And I'm sure the other countries will buy our much needed steel. Steel will always be needed. Why are we still exporting? Why are we worrying about China? China doesn't give a damn about Australia. The infiltration, as I said, has been happening for a long time. I've spoken about this for a long time, that we've actually let our industries and manufacturing just deplete so much in this country, which creates jobs. We've signed a free trade agreement with China in 2015. They've never lived up to their deal. And under that free trade agreement, people may not know it, it's almost $2 billion that they can invest in Australia before it goes before the Foreign Investment Review Board. They can bring in their own workers. They're sending out the kids out here to get their, to do their university degrees. And then what they do, they stay here, they get their citizenship, send their kids out here. Slowly, they are infiltrating this country. And this is what I said. Those people on that list who are with the CCP, members of it, we should actually look very closely whether we will ever give them citizenship in this country, because I believe their loyalties remain with China and it will never be with Australia. I wouldn't give them citizenship. I'd actually shut the borders on them. China is going to be our biggest threat in years to come, Peter. Mark my words.
Pauline, I want to talk about, you would have heard me fire up about the medical advice that we're not being told about. That's the problem here in this country. We're not being told about the medical advice when it comes to the pandemic, despite the fact that the Chief Commonwealth Medical Officer said back in March that there was no need to close the borders. Now we've got a situation where we've got that clown in WA, McGowan. He won't even go into Canberra. He won't even sit with Stephen Marshall. He's worried about getting coronavirus. Surely it's time, isn't it, Pauline, that we saw some sort of transparency when it comes to medical advice and the decisions being made, and that Kiwi decision. Now, I see Jacinda Ardern said today they'll have the travel bubble, which will start in March next year. But Anastasia Palaszczuk stopped Kiwis coming here for 43 days. You know how many Kiwis love Queensland, Pauline? They couldn't get here.
Yep. Peter, McGowan is going into election March next year. So he's going to reflect what happened in Queensland with Anastasia Palaszczuk, and he's hoping to do exactly the same in Western Australia. We've kept you safe. I've spoken about, you've spoken about it all this year about the coronavirus. Do you know that I spoke to the health minister, not the health minister, the aged care minister at Parliament in the last 2 weeks? And he told me, and I said, why don't you actually have an inquiry into the COVID-19 deaths to see who actually died from COVID or died with COVID? And I said, what's happening in the aged care? They said, all these people have died in aged care. He said, Pauline, do you know that there is 1,100 fewer people that died in nursing homes this year compared to last year? We have had less deaths due to flu this year, which is about 35, average 35, 38 people died from flu this year compared to last year, and the figures were between 900 to 1,200. So social distancing has stopped, and also the people that are coming in from overseas has stopped the spread of flu from the Northern Hemisphere when people come down here. But the whole fact is we have been lied to time and time again, and I'm so sick and tired of it. And these politicians that are using it to their own political gain. Peter, that's how I see it. We have been lied to constantly. And people, the fear-mongering that's gone on, I feel sorry for people. They've been kept away from loved ones. People in nursing homes have actually become so depressed, they've actually, kept away from their loved ones. I think it's disgusting what's happened. We've had more suicides, we've had more domestic violence, we've had more problems because they're shutting down the borders for their own gains. And it's a shame.
We're going to talk to Ian Hickey very shortly, Pauline, about the mental health aspect of that. Before we go, look, Anastasia Palaszczuk today came out and said that, no, she wasn't going to stick with her promise to bring forward the voluntary assisted dying or euthanasia laws in February. She was now going to wait till May. She said she'd listened to those people who had concerns about the fast tracking of that. But as you know, Pauline, the only reason she did it was so that she'd get Richard Stuckey's preferences against Laura Gerber in the seat of Currumbin. Isn't it terrible when you've got a politician, a premier, with one eye on the ballot box and one eye on the legislation? That's not very nice, I don't think.
Peter, that's why I've always said the problem with Queensland, we don't have an upper house to keep the government in the lower house to accountable. And when she has the numbers, she can do whatever she wants. And that's a real shame. We need an upper house in Queensland, the House of Review. It works exceptionally well in the federal parliament, and we get better legislation out of it. I've got no time for the Labor Party. They have reneged on their promises. They can't handle the economy. We've got dire straits ahead of us, and this is what I've told the Queensland people. We'll lose the farming sector, industry, manufacturing, increasing taxes. They can't bring in a debt over the next 4 years to $130 billion. The money has to come from somewhere, and the only way you can actually pay down that debt is to increase taxes. So I'll tell the people of Queensland, just wait and see what's going to happen in Queensland.